It started with a single sentence, one that sliced through the early December chill like a blade. The palace had reviewed the allegations, and what they found shocked everyone. Delivered at exactly 7:02 on a quiet winter morning, it appeared almost casually at the bottom of a breaking news ticker. Yet within minutes, it ignited a storm across British and American media, not because people expected the palace to speak, but because no one expected it to address the explosive theory that had spread like wildfire the night before. The claim that Meghan Markle and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor shared a hidden relationship, whispered through corridors where crime, desire, and power blur into each other, captivated the public imagination. Outside Buckingham Palace, reporters stood bundled in coats, their breath rising in pale clouds, while snow-flecked London streets reflected the glow of overhead lights, as if the entire city were holding its breath. The world had grown accustomed to royal scandals, but not this a narrative that merged two of the most controversial figures in modern monarchy into a single, shadowed timeline. Inside, senior officials moved with practiced urgency, having spent the past 48 hours dissecting videos, blurred screenshots, and so-called receipts circulating across YouTube and dark web forums. Some claims were laughable, some eerily convincing, and others those involving yacht photos, private guest lists, and a resurfaced social circle timeline were dangerous enough that the palace could no longer remain silent. Yet the most unsettling part was not the rumor itself, but how quickly the public believed it. From California to New York, from London to Sydney, audiences over 50 watched the claim spread across their screens, questioning how much of it could be true. After all, Andrew had fallen so far. Meghan had been targeted for so long. And in an age where deepfakes outpaced reality, the line between truth and fabrication had never felt thinner. So what exactly forced the palace to break its silence that day? To understand how the palace found itself forced into an unprecedented early December intervention, one must step back into the tangled landscape that allowed the rumor of a hidden relationship between Meghan Markle and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to ignite with such ferocity. This moment did not arrive suddenly. It was built slowly over years through unresolved scandals, unspoken resentments, and a digital culture increasingly adept at blurring truth into spectacle. Andrew's downfall had already created a perfect breeding ground. By the end of autumn 2025, he had been stripped of every remaining title, removed from public life, and ordered to vacate Royal Lodge, the one place he had clung to as a fading symbol of his former status. The Epstein connections resurfaced once more after new investigative documentaries were released. US networks replayed the infamous BBC interview, and British newspapers revisited testimonies, timelines, and unanswered questions, while senior royals privately acknowledged Andrew not merely as a disgraced prince, but as a liability with no path back. In that vacuum, a mix of silence, shame, and unresolved outrage allowed conspiracy channels to flourish across YouTube, TikTok, and fringe forums. Creators stitched together unrelated fragments: Meghan's past work trips, Andrew's social circles from decades prior, blurred party photos featuring strangers, a misidentified yacht photo, a misinterpreted Soho House guest list, a travel timeline taken out of context, and slowly, a storyline emerged placing Meghan inside Andrew's orbit long before Harry appeared. It did not matter that reputable fact-checkers repeatedly pointed out inconsistencies, that several images were misattributed, or even AI-generated. What mattered was the emotional logic behind the theory. Andrew had fallen spectacularly, and Meghan, polarizing, ambitious, and often misunderstood, had long been a magnet for sensationalism. Inside Buckingham Palace, curiosity evolved into alarm. Camilla worried that allowing the rumor to grow unchecked would make the institution appear complicit or indifferent, while the typically blunt perspective warned that tying Meghan falsely to Andrew's misdeeds could dilute the moral stance the monarchy had taken in his removal. William viewed it strategically. The Crown could not afford another wildfire of misinformation, not while Catherine's schedule remained limited and Charles's health required stability. As the first snow settled across London, the palace prepared a rare, carefully calibrated response not to validate the rumor, but to confront the dangerous machinery that had produced it. The palace had grown accustomed to wild rumors, but this one was different. Colder, darker, more calculated. The first signs appeared in subtle patterns recognizable only to those who had long lived within the palace machinery, beginning with Princess Anne. She was the first to raise the alarm. A routine morning media scan and briefing folder contained a compilation of videos, manipulated images, and accelerating cross-platform narratives that made her pause longer than usual. and had seen scandal and survived decades of sensationalism. Yet this was different. The story was not growing organically. It was architected. She circled timestamps where the exact same claim appeared across 5 unrelated accounts, noted repeated photos reproduced in different color grades, but identical flawed compositions, and marked timeline errors, such as Meghan allegedly appearing at an event while publicly known to be filming in another country. That afternoon, she brought the pages to Charles and said in her unvarnished tone, "Someone is trying to manufacture a connection." Charles reviewed the material slowly, increasingly troubled. Andrew had already brought the family to the brink of reputational collapse more than once, and he could not withstand another resurgence of speculation linking him, even falsely, to anything criminal, sensual, or conspiratorial. Meghan, meanwhile, remained his daughter-in-law and a private citizen. The institution could not allow lies of this magnitude to stand unchallenged. The palace's digital analysis team soon confirmed the second sign that something was off. Several receipts supporting the rumor had been posted weeks before going viral, lying dormant until being amplified simultaneously. One image in particular drew their attention, a grainy yacht photo supposedly showing Meghan near Andrew in the early 2010s. Investigators confirmed what reputable journalists had already stated. The woman in the photo was not her. The woman in the yacht photo was not Meghan at all, but a European model whose image had been misidentified in multiple online hoaxes years earlier. Yet the manipulated version circulating now had Meghan's face, subtly enhanced using AI smoothing tools, making it appear convincingly real, particularly to older viewers less attuned to detecting deepfakes. The third warning sign came from abroad. American morning shows catering to viewers over 50 began hosting royal commentators who repeated the rumor with theatrical concern, using phrases like, "It raises questions," or "We don't know what the palace is hiding," without offering evidence. This demographic, less familiar with deepfake detection and more likely to take visuals at face value, became the fastest-growing group spreading the misinformation. William noticed immediately. 68% of engagement fueling the rumor came from US accounts aged 50 to 70, the same audience most loyal to royal content online. "If they believe this," he said quietly, "it becomes history, not rumor." The fourth sign, which forced the palace to accelerate its response, came from Andrew himself. Isolated, humiliated, and losing public sympathy, he had begun muttering to aides that Meghan isn't innocent, either not a confession, not confirmation, but bitter rambling that eerily aligned with circulating claims. Though not evidence, his words added fuel. Stripped of titles and relevance, Andrew had no incentive to think strategically, and a rogue remark could ignite the rumor beyond containment. The final sign came from Camilla during a private meeting. Rarely emotional in her assessments, she was visibly tense. If Meghan were tied to Andrew's world, even falsely, the moral line drawn when he was removed would be eroded. In other words, if the public perceived even a shadow of a connection between Meghan and Andrew, the monarchy's stance on Andrew's past misdeeds could appear hypocritical or incomplete. The signs were no longer subtle, a digital wildfire had begun. Unless the palace acted decisively, transparently, and publicly, the rumor risked becoming a permanent stain on 2 lives and an institution already struggling to maintain stability. Inside Buckingham Palace, the first week of December felt less like the start of a festive season and more like a command center bracing for a storm that refused to pass. A rumor linking Meghan Markle and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, laced with suggestions of a hidden relationship wrapped in crime, seduction, and shadowy intrigue. The misinformation circulating across networks had grown beyond mere rumor. It had become a weapon, and for the first time in years, the royals found themselves united. Not by ceremony, but by urgency. The meeting took place in the smaller of the 2 drawing rooms near the private apartments, a space usually reserved for delicate discussions demanding absolute discretion. Winter gusts rattled the windows, and the faint scent of pine from early holiday decorations lingered in the hallways. Yet inside, the mood was tense. Charles sat at the head of the table, hands clasped tightly, with a folder before him containing printouts of the most viral claims. The AI-edited yacht photo, the fabricated Soho House timeline, and a bizarre diagram purporting to map Meghan's and Andrew's intersections. Though Charles had endured scandals before, something about this felt uniquely corrosive. Camilla, seated to his right, was the first to speak. "This isn't gossip," she said calmly but firmly. "It's manufactured slander, coordinated, and it's damaging us all." Her words carried the weight of someone who had rebuilt her reputation step by deliberate step, understanding how monstrous a rumor could become once it found traction with the wrong audience. William leaned forward, composed but alert. The problem, he said, isn't only the people who believe it. It's the people who want it to be true. There's a demographic that thrives on narratives like this. They're emotionally invested. They don't need proof. They need a storyline. And Meghan seems to be the preferred target. Andrew's disgrace is real, well documented. Meghan's controversies are different, divisive, not criminal. Combining the two makes the perfect storm. Charles rubbed his forehead. Do we know who's behind it? A communications advisor replied cautiously. Not specifically, but a cluster of accounts. Appears linked. Timing is synchronized. Several videos use the same scripts read by different voices. It feels engineered. Camilla sighed. It always starts in shadow and ends on front pages. William gestured toward the documents. The longer we leave this unattended, the more permanent it becomes, especially with our older viewership abroad. They see the visuals and believe them, not realizing how easily they were manipulated, and flipped through the pages again. We punished Andrew for a reassona real one. If we allow Meghan to be dragged into his world with no evidence, we cheapen that decision. Charles sat back, deep in thought. The monarchy's stance on Andrew had been clear, resolute, and morally necessary. But if Meghan, who had never been connected to Epstein or implicated in Andrew's misdeeds, became entangled in a fantasy narrative, that clarity would blur, and the public would begin to wonder what else the palace was hiding, even if the truth was painfully simple. Finally, Charles asked quietly, "What about Harry?" William answered before anyone else could. "He'll defend Meghan fiercely, and if he feels we aren't protecting her," William said carefully, "he may turn this into an even larger conflict." He nodded. "Then we must address the rumor directly." Camilla tapped the table decisively. "We cannot let Andrew's fall contaminate Meghan by association. They are not connected. Their paths never crossed in the way these videos imply. We must state that clearly and firmly," and added. Silence settled briefly before Charles exhaled. "Then prepare a statement, one that addresses the fabrication without giving the rumor more oxygen than necessary." A senior advisor opened a fresh folder. "Drafting has begun, Your Majesty, but we will need to reference the false imagery, the AI manipulations, and the doctored timelines. Otherwise, the public won't understand why we are speaking now." William agreed. "This isn't about defending Meghan from criticism, she's used to that. This is about preventing the monarchy from being rewritten by people with editing software." It was a rare moment of unanimity. As the meeting dissolved, aides hurried down corridors to finalize language, coordinate with legal teams, and prepare for the inevitable media storm. Across London, television hosts speculated, online channels refreshed their thumbnails, and hashtags trended in cycles of outrage, disbelief, and fascination, while the rumor continued mutating, acquiring new angles, theories, and connections that never existed. Back inside the palace, the clock neared noon when the final version of the statement landed on Charles's desk. He read it twice, measured factual, unprecedented in its directness, but necessary. By now, the rumor wasn't just threatening Meghan, it was threatening the monarchy's ability to define truth itself. Just after midday, under a winter sun hidden behind thick clouds, cameras crowded the gates of Buckingham Palace. This wasn't a holiday announcement. There was no ceremonial update, no cheerful itinerary. Instead, a single sheet of white paper, heavy and embossed with the royal crest, was handed to journalists who had waited in the cold for hours. Within seconds, headlines exploded. Palace responds to Meghan Andrew rumors. Buckingham breaks silence. Hidden relationship claims addressed. But the real shock wasn't that the palace spoke, it was how they spoke. The statement was sharp, direct, and unmistakably authoritative. The statement was restrained, yet unmistakably deliberate. It began by acknowledging a series of fabricated allegations circulating online, a phrasing that immediately re-entered the narrative. Not claims, not reports, fabrications. Then came the core line that would dominate broadcasts across the United States and Britain for the rest of the day. Following review by internal and external advisors, no evidence has been found to support claims of any private, personal, or historical connection between the Duchess of Sussex and Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Rarely had the palace mentioned Meghan so directly, rarer still to pair her name with Andrew's in an official document. But the clearest boundary was drawn in the next sentence. Any suggestion linking the Duchess to matters related to Mr. Mountbatten Windsor's legal history is entirely false. That single sentence detonated across newsrooms, clean, final, and precise. Behind the scenes, the decision had not been easy. William had pushed hardest for firm language, understanding the mechanics of digital warfare better than any royal of his generation. Misinformation didn't die quietly. It had to be confronted before it metastasized into permanent belief. Meghan, polarizing though she was, could not be dragged into Andrew's world without reopening wounds the monarchy had spent years suturing, and William's argument for hardline clarity prevailed. Camilla offered a complementary perspective. Her concern was moral coherence. If we allow the public to believe Meghan was entwined in Andrew's behaviors, she had said, we cheapen the gravity of those victims and the steps taken to correct Andrew's mistakes. Charles, meanwhile, had wrestled with the paradox of breaking tradition. Speaking out validated the rumor in the short term, even as it corrected it in the long term, but ultimately recognized the necessity. The statement was drafted with surgical care, referencing manipulated images, distorted timelines, and the dangers of AI-generated media. It did not mention Andrew's prior scandals explicitly, but by naming him Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, it reminded the public of his current status. Not prince, not duke, but a man formally stripped of his former standing. Within minutes, major US networks interrupted daytime programming. Analysts dissected every sentence. Some praised the palace for confronting conspiracy culture head-on, while others speculated about tensions between the Wales and the Sussexes, and a few commentators trafficked in royal drama suggested the statement itself proved there must be more to the story. Yet those voices paled beside the dominant narrative. The palace had shut the door and slammed it hard. Across California, sources close to Meghan expressed relief. She had braced for silence, conditioned by years of online cruelty. But this time the institution intervened, not to defend her personally, but to defend the difference between fact and fiction. Andrew, meanwhile, reacted with visible irritation. Those close to him said he muttered about people twisting things, though no one could determine whether he meant the rumor or the palace's intervention. But it no longer mattered. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't the center of the story. He was simply the shadow behind a fire someone else had ignited. By late afternoon, the palace statement had done its job. The lie hadn't died, lies rarely do, but it had been cornered, and the monarchy, battered but upright, had regained control of the narrative long enough to breathe. The hours following the announcement felt strangely suspended, as if the world had paused mid-step to absorb the implications. By early evening, the digital landscape had split cleanly in two. On one side were those accepting the palace's clarification, with relief, reassured that the institution could still distinguish fact from fabrication. On the other were those reshaping the narrative, insisting that the very existence of the statement proved something was being hidden. Inside the private spheres of those at the center of the storm, the fallout was more complicated. In Montecito, Meghan sat with the printed statement before her. The words were firm, measured, restrained, unmistakably crafted to defend truth rather than personality. She recognized the tone immediately. This wasn't emotional support or an apology for what she had endured online. It was the crown defending the boundary between factual wrongdoing and fictional scandal. A boundary she had seen erode more times than she cared to count. Still, she felt the faintest sense of vindication. Not triumph, merely a release of pressure that had been building for years. Harry, pacing behind her, reacted more intensely. He had expected the palace to remain silent and had prepared to defend Meghan alone, as he had during previous controversies. But this time he paused. The intervention had not been made lightly, and he knew William's influence was almost certainly behind it. For the first time in years, he felt a flicker of alignment, but he also knew the battle wasn't over. When lies leave scars, truth alone doesn't erase them. Back in the UK, William watched coverage from Windsor. He wasn't looking for praise, he rarely did. Instead, he measured reactions, assessed tone shifts, and tried to read the temperature of a public increasingly skeptical of everything yet fiercely loyal to the institution. The palace's intervention had stopped the wildfire, but pockets of embers still glowed in corners of the internet, known for refusing evidence. William knew they would return, they always did, and for her part, Camilla felt a grim satisfaction. She had insisted from the beginning that allowing Meghan to become collateral damage for Andrew's downfall was unacceptable. Now, with the air partially cleared, her attention turned back to the bigger issue, Andrew himself. This episode reinforced her belief that the monarchy must remain uncompromising, when it comes to its own integrity. If Andrew's past could still produce chaos years later, then the palace had not been forceful enough. Camilla processed the fallout quietly, drawing on decades of experience weathering storms of public perception. While watching Meghan, she felt an unexpected solidarity. Rumors of moral corruption, secret affairs, and misdeeds woven into scandalous plots were familiar to her. She knew that without intervention, Meghan might never escape the shadow. Charles, meanwhile, wrestled with the complexity of breaking tradition, understanding the weight of speaking out in a world where silence could allow two unrelated stories, one rooted in legal fact, the other in digital illusion, to merge into a grotesque hybrid that could stain the monarchy indefinitely. Andrew's irritation grew throughout the day as commentators contrasted his documented misjudgments with the fabricated accusations against Meghan. Some said the palace had chosen sides. Others claimed the statement was a rebuke without naming him. He felt cornered not by Meghan herself, but by a narrative reminding the world of his disgrace while trying to drag someone else into it. Yet this was the natural consequence of his past actions, and consequences, as always, cast long shadows. By nightfall, the rumor had fractured. Some clung to it, others dismissed it. But the palace had drawn a rare, necessary line. The question lingered. Would this moment teach the institution to defend truth, or merely serve as another temporary victory before the next storm? As the dust settled, a quieter truth emerged, one beneath thumbnails, shock headlines, AI-edited images, and relentless online chaos. Human beings are far more vulnerable to stories than to facts. In a world where speed often outruns accuracy, even the most outrageous lie can feel real if repeated enough. The rumor linking Meghan to Andrew, morally and historically, had become a perfect storm of modern ingredients. Fragments of half-truths, recycled photos, emotional bias, and algorithms that reward outrage over honesty. This saga illustrated that while the monarchy may be centuries old, today's threats come from tools no previous monarch could have imagined. Beyond the drama and headlines, the story resonates universally. Reputations, relationships, pasts, and private lives can be twisted by strangers. A single manipulated image or misinterpreted timeline can snowball into a narrative too large to stop. For Andrew, it was a reminder that real actions have real consequences, and some shadows cannot be outrun. For Meghan, it underscored how swiftly a polarizing public figure can be pulled into a world of accusations simply for fitting someone else's storyline. For the palace, it forced a crucial realization. In the digital age, silence can be mistaken for complicity, and institutions, like people, must sometimes defend reality itself. And for all of us, the lesson is clear. When confronted with dramatic claims or tidy narratives linking unlikely people, pause and ask whether a story is built on evidence or emotion, facts or fragments. In a world overflowing with noise, discernment is not optional, it is self-defense. As this chapter closes, one question lingers. If this rumor could grow so fast and large, what does it mean for the next storm, the next figure, the next story waiting to be twisted? Perhaps the challenge of our time is not simply learning what to believe, but learning how to believe wisely.